All right, hopefully this first query that we were working on was not the worst thing in the world. I'll tell you right now that the first couple of queries we go through are going to be a little bit on the simple side, just to make sure you got a grasp on these core concepts. But as we start working on some of the other ones, trust me, they're going to start to get really, really tough. Okay, so for the first three or so, nice and easy, and we're going to really ramp up in difficulty. So for this first one, let me tell you, don't overcomplicate things. It's going to be just like the code that we were just writing inside of our tests. So we want to find a record, just one, with a very particular ID. So there's two ways we can tackle this. I'm going to show you both ways. Inside of here, I'm going to put return, because again, we want to return every single query or promise that we come up with. Artist. And I want to find just one entry, just one. Okay, so I'm going to use FindOne as opposed to find. And inside of here, I want to look at the ID property of every record and find one with this very particular ID. So this is my searching criteria right here. I would have most closely related this one. We had an example very similar to this when we were writing our tests around the user model. We certainly had a test in there that was something like user.find with a name of Joe, right? We definitely had that in there, or excuse me, find one. And so this is very similar syntax right here. Find me one artist with this particular ID, okay? All right, so I'm going to save this file with just this query inside of here. We'll go through over the alternate solution in just a second. And I'm gonna open up my application again. I'm gonna make sure that I expand the window enough to see the random artist button on the right-hand side, and then I'll refresh the page. And sometimes it just takes a second to go. If it ever feels like it's really not refreshing, you can check the terminal to see if you have any errors over here. Alternatively, you can go up to View and then toggle Developer Tools. And then inside of here, go to the Console tab. Here we go, Console tab right here, and see if you have any errors over here as well. Sometimes you'll see them over here. And just for the purposes of going through all this stuff, I'm going to leave this console open on the right-hand side, so I can see if I have any errors. Okay, so here we go. Once I'm here, I have now implemented that find artist query. So I'm going to go to the random artist tab, and all right, hot dog. When I click this, I can see a random artist appear up on the screen. The random artist has the artist name, which, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, this is all randomly generated data. So sometimes it's going to be a little bit weird. So Hazel Nolan, who's a master of blog rap, all right, 12 years active, 35 years old, and some label. Let's look again. I got my artist, here we go. Mrs. Janie Rippin, master of, all right. And here's some artists that they have, or excuse me, some albums. So 5 tracks, and all right, well, hey, looks like it's working, not bad. So this is definitely working out so far for this first query. So let's look at an alternative approach here to this find one. I'm going to pull up the Mongoose documentation. So I want to show you the documentation a little bit. Inside of Google, I'm going to look for Mongoose JS, and we're going to go to the Mongoose homepage. So here's Mongoose ODM. Right in the middle of the screen, I'll click on Read the Docs. And then on the left-hand side, I'm going to scroll down until I see API docs right here at the very bottom left. So I got to tell you, I don't normally toot my own horn too much, but these API docs are pretty much exactly why I made this course. These API docs are, I really don't like these API docs at all. I'm just going to say it right now. Here's why. If you want to find some documentation about the find one function on a model. Okay, let's figure out how we find the find one function inside of here. Okay, so we'll scroll on the left-hand side. Okay, find one. I don't really see anything about find one in particular. I see a bunch of JS files. I don't know. Okay, well, here's model. Let's look at model. Okay, model where, increment, model, remove, save. Boy, we have to do a lot of scrolling. And even as I'm doing all this scrolling, I don't really see the find where, or excuse me, find one. So let's try searching for find one. How about that? I'll search for find one. Okay, fantastic. I have 66 results that I have to scroll through. until I finally see, query FindOne. But we're not really working with the query here, we're working with the model. Okay, okay, you definitely get the idea where I'm coming from, right? These API docs are not fun at all. They're really hard to digest. But anyways, back on topic. I told you that I would show you a different way to find an artist with a particular ID. So there's one other function that we could use here. It's called FindById. And even then, when I search for it, I have to, go, okay, hey, finally. All right, here it is. My goodness. All right. So we can call FindById with our model and pass in an ID as the first argument. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so it's going to behave identically the same as FindOne, and even the documentation here says is almost equivalent to FindOne. So nearly equivalent, that's good enough for us. Let's try changing this out. I'm going to say instead of FindOne, I'll say FindById. And then as the first and only argument, I'm going to pass in the ID. So I'll save this. Let's flip back over. I'll refresh. Let it do its little thing. And okay, so now I can, yep, definitely still works. Fantastic. Okay, so that's our FindOne or our find artist query. Let's continue on into the next section and figure out which query we're going to work on next.